We are coming up on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. Here to talk more about that is Reverend Ronald Slaughter, St. James AME Church in Newark and South Orange, New Jersey. Sir, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank
I really
you for
appreciate
having
it. You didn't make it to the first march. We already talked about that. But what did it mean to you?
It meant so much to me to see so many men in particular to gather in Washington, D.C. I was in my freshman year of undergraduate studies, so to be able to watch that on TV, the gathering that was led by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, gathering our people together for a movement, not just for a moment, but for a movement to show that not all of our African-American males in particular are bad individuals, but some are making incredible marks in this country.
Let me talk specifically about Louis Farrakhan, because he's a controversial figure, and he says some things that upset a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
Is he a positive influence in America, in your opinion?
In my opinion, he is. In particular in the African-American community, and especially in the lives of males, in particular, especially 21st century young men. He is a powerful figure. I just heard him the other day make a comment about having 10,000 men. He's calling for 10,000 men out of this movement on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March to come back and to go into the inner cities of America to stop some of this gun violence and murders by our own people, that our own people are inflicting upon one another. And he's calling for 10,000 black males, 10,000 men to come and stand in the middle of these gang warfare and gang violence in the urban and inner cities. And so he is revered in the African-American community. Yes, he is.
Do you think he steps over the line sometimes? He's been accused of racist speak when it comes to white Americans.
Well, what public figure does not cross the line? Let's look at Donald Trump and the things that Donald Trump is doing, but yet he's leading the polls, and the way he comes off at women in particular and the remarks and comments that he makes, but yet he's being revered in the Republican Party now because he's leading all of the candidates.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump, and certainly I can say that some of the things that he says I would disagree with, and so with you, some of the things that Louis Farrakhan says, do you disagree with?
Not so much as it relates to this 20th anniversary and this movement that he's leading. Of course, he's the leader of the Nation of Islam, and I'm a Protestant Christian, so of course we have our differences. But for this particular movement, we are more together than divided because of what he's calling for in the country at this particular time. Even Dr. King, who is revered all throughout this country, some still think he crossed the line in some areas as well.
You can't. Can you compare the two?
No, you cannot compare the two, but King did call out, you remember the Vietnam War, and the people had a major problem with King speaking out against the Vietnam War. And even in the movie Selma, people had a lot of problems with the depiction of him and President Lyndon Johnson at that time, and some of the debates and arguments that they had in the White House. So yes, if you're not called to be popular, you're going to be controversial, but when you're trying to revolutionize a country and as well as also energize a particular race, it does cause for controversy sometimes.
Okay, we took a left turn, and I'm stealing too much on Louis Farrakhan
Yes.
and not the Million Man March. We're having some problems right now in the country with race relations.
Yes, sir.
And so I guess a question would be, how far have we come since the Million Man March? And if we haven't come far, is it a fair question to say that it wasn't as successful as it could have been?
No, I don't think we can say that. I think it was very successful. Not only did 1 million persons come together, a little over 2 million persons gathered over 20 years ago, and I think it had a remarkable impact in our country. This time it's under the theme justice or else, because of the race relations and various things that are happening in the African-American community, especially with police brutality and the killing of unarmed African Americans. And so we do believe that Black Lives Matter, but we are now coming together with our collective voices to say we want justice in this country. We don't just want justice for one race, we want justice for both races, for all ethnicities in the United States of America.
And when you talk about that, you're not just talking about police and police brutality, you're talking about over-incarceration, you're talking about the criminal justice system and
poverty.
And the feeling and poverty, right?
Yes, sir. We're talking about several things. And even in this movement, the 20-year anniversary, something that the founder of my denomination, Bishop Richard Allen of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, it's ironic to see that in the 19th century, in the 1800s, that he called for a boycott against produce because of the injustice afflicted upon African Americans, even at that time, 1800s, Larry, and here we are in the 21st century, and even the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is calling for a similar boycott because African Americans make up 1 trillion of spending dollars in this country, 1 trillion. So if African Americans boycott Christmas, if we boycott certain events and use our collective wealth not to purchase certain items, our voice will be heard.
You didn't make it to the first Million Man March.
No,
but
sir.
You are going to make it to this one.
Oh,
Talk
yes,
about
sir.
the event and what you're organizing from this area.
Definitely will be a part of it. You have so many persons from North Jersey that are organizing, Wisdom in particular, Women in Support of the Million Man March, which is an organization located in Newark, New Jersey. So many charter buses. Mr. Larry Ham and his organization out of Newark. I mean, 20 years ago, New Jersey had the, I believe, second largest delegation to attend the Million Man March. And so this year, you're looking at almost hundreds of charter buses that will be making its way down the turnpike, headed towards Washington, D.C. to be a part of this. St. James on tomorrow will host a rally for the Million Man March in which the Nation of Islam will use our facility because they are our brothers and sisters as well, and use our facility as we rally and get prepared to make our journey in October to Washington, D.C. So many buses, and our church is sponsoring a bus as well.
And you'll come back afterwards to talk
sir.
again right here.
I'll be delighted to.
Reverend, thank you so much.
Thank
it's
you
always
so much.
a pleasure. Reverend Ronald Slaughter from the St. James AME Church in Newark and South Orange, New Jersey. When Another Thing returns.
Dawn introduces us to Sister Mary Scullion, Philadelphia's living saint.